We're going to talk something super interesting today. And like, I've been absolutely dying to talk about this with you, Carl. You know Squid Game, right? Well, there's this mind blowing theory that's been floating around.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I think I know exactly where you're going with this. The whole Gi-hun and Il-nam connection, right?
Yes. So for our Upwards Reels listeners who might not be totally caught up, there's this wild theory that Gi-hun, our main character, might actually be Il-nam's son.
Listen, this theory is absolutely fascinating because, and I mean this literally blew my mind when I first came across it. There are so many little details throughout both seasons that kind of, point to this connection. Like, we're talking about really subtle hints that most people probably missed on their first watch.
I gotta ask, what made you first notice these connections? Because like when I first watched it, I totally missed all of this.
You see, it's actually really interesting because it all started with, you know, just picking up on these tiny little details, these breadcrumbs that the show creators left for us throughout the series. And there's just so much evidence that when you put it all together, it's kind of mind-blowing.
So let's talk about that marbles game episode, because like that's where things start getting really interesting, right?
Absolutely. And this episode is actually where I first started noticing these little connections, So there's this really powerful moment where Il-nam picks this specific alleyway for their game, right? And he mentions that it looks exactly like where he grew up, that he did the research and made sure that he left that area.
Yeah, and then doesn't Hun say something really similar?
Exactly. That's the thing that really caught my attention. Like, Gi-hun immediately responds saying that it looks just like his childhood neighborhood too. And you might think, well, maybe it's just a coincidence, right? But then you start looking at all these other little details throughout the scene.
What kind of details are we talking about here?
So the way Il-nam interacts with Gi-hun during this whole scene is just, it's different, like he's more personal with him than with anyone else. And the way he talks about his memories, it's almost like he's trying to share something deeper with Gi-hun specifically. And you can see this sort of emotional connection between them that goes beyond just being game partners.
That's actually super interesting because like I remember feeling there was something really special about their dynamic in that scene.
Right. And what makes it even more fascinating is how Il-nam keeps sharing these really specific memories about his past, which is something he doesn't do with any other player throughout the entire game. It's like he's trying to tell Gi-hun something important without actually saying it directly. You know what I mean?
Speaking of those memories, there's something really specific about Il-nam's son that caught my attention.
Oh my goodness, yes. So, and this is where things get really interesting. During that Marvels game, Il-nam starts talking about his son, right? And he specifically mentions this really important detail about his son's birthday being on the 24th.
Wait, isn't there something about Ji-hoon's birthday too?
Yes, that's exactly it. Like throughout the show, there are these little hints dropped about Ji-hun's birthday also being on the 24th. And what makes this even more fascinating is how Il-nam describes his son. He talks about how his son loved playing games, which is exactly like Gi-hun.
So, what else does Il-nam say about his son?
So the thing is, Il-nam gets really emotional when he's talking about his son, right? And he mentions how he was never really there for him, how he was always working. It's like he's carrying this huge weight of regret. You know what I mean? And when you look at Ji-hun's background, how he grew up without a father figure, it starts to make you wonder.
That's actually a really good point about the absent father thing.
Right. And what's really interesting is how Il-nam seems to know certain things about Gi-hun that he shouldn't. Like throughout their interactions, there are these moments where he seems to understand Gi-hun on this deeper level, almost like he's known him his whole life, you know? The birthday thing isn't just a random coincidence when you put it together with everything else. And
So there's this other part of the theory that's been driving me crazy. What about the front man? Like, how does he fit into all of this?
oh my goodness, this is where things get really, really interesting. So in season 2, right, we get this massive revelation about the front man, Hwang In-ho. And what we learn is that he's actually adopted, you know? Um s- so
Wait, how do we know that for sure?
so during season 2, there's this moment where Junho's mother specifically refers to the front man as her adopted son. And and what's really fascinating is how this fits perfectly into our theory about Ilnum's family, right? Because if you think about it, the timing of everything lines up perfectly. If if this band starts,
What do you mean by the timing?
so here's the thing. If you look at the timeline, right? The front man could have been separated from Gi-hun and Il-nam when he was really young. And then he was adopted by Junho's family, which makes this whole situation between them in the games just absolutely tragic. You know what I mean? So,
What makes you say it's tragic specifically?
well, think about it. You've got these two brothers, right? And they're both in these games, but on completely opposite sides. Like one's trying to bring the whole thing down, and the other one's he's running it. And the thing that makes it even more intense is that neither of them even knows about their connection to each other. It's like this twisted family drama playing out right in front of us, but they have no idea.
Wow, what an intense journey we've had so far, right? The clues, the connections, the symbolism. It all paints a picture that's as intriguing as it is chilling. But we've only scratched the surface of this twisted web of theories. Could Ilname's creation of the games really be his way of connecting with his long-lost sons? And what role does the frontman truly play in this tangled family saga? Stay tuned because in part 2, we're diving even deeper. We'll uncover more hidden details, unravel the meaning behind the number 24, and explore what this theory could mean for the future of Squid Game. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until next time, keep those theories coming in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Upwards Reels, signing off for now.